happening, gang? It's your boy Retro back again with another reaction video. Yeah. Today we got another huge update. Now, you guys can probably already tell that it is going down. Just by that title alone, you guys are definitely going to want to check this one out. So we got our lovely White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt coming out and exposing the truth on the devastating floods that hit Texas over the holiday weekend. And this one, guys, I'm excited to get into it. So when I hop straight into it, all I ask that you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's hop straight into it, folks. Check this one out.
The developing story in central Texas. More rain is on the way for areas destroyed by weekend flash floods.
Right now, 41 people are still unaccounted for in the Hill Country. At least 82 people are confirmed dead. 68 of those victims come from Kerr County alone. The flash flooding happened in the middle of the night, early Friday morning on the 4th of July. Water in the Guadalupe River rose more than 20 feet in just under an hour. And Good Day's Brandon Todd is in Kerr County for us this morning. He leads our live team coverage today.
Yeah, Brandon, you are getting a look at the damage and what neighbors are dealing with. What are you seeing there in Kerr County?
Well, good morning. We're right alongside the banks of the Guadalupe River. Obviously, it has receded all the way down. It may be even hard to see, but clearly from the trees in the background, you can see the damage left behind from this, and there is just debris all over the place. And you can see that goes for miles along the Guadalupe River. Now, there are a lot of questions and a lot of discussions about the topic of what kind of warnings did people here get when the rains started and when the river started to rise. And Chief Nim Kidd with the Texas Division of Emergency Management responded to that in a news conference.
And if there's no cell phone coverage, it doesn't matter how many alert systems you sign up for, you're not going to get that. And then there's the NOAA weather radios from the National Weather Service. I'll ask you, how many of you have a NOAA weather radio by your bed at home? And so there can be all kinds of alert systems that are sent, and we know that some were sent, some general messaging was sent early. Some urgent warnings were sent at various times, but just sending the message is not the same as receiving the message, having a plan to do something when you receive the message, and then the ability to implement that plan.
Now, of course, law enforcement, firefighters, even military personnel are here in Kerr County. They're still operating with this rescue frame of mind, desperately searching for missing campers and a missing counselor from Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas. Fox 4 did confirm that Camp Mystic director Dick Eastland died trying to save all of those girls from the violent waters of the Guadalupe River. There are multiple camps in Hunt, and there are reunifications that are still taking place as of yesterday. Another challenge, of course, clearing the roads and bridges from all of this debris. Shannon and Paige, I'll tell you, you heard that soundbite there where he was asking people, how many of you have a weather radio? You know, it's a good question, but, you know, a lot of the residents here that we talked to yesterday, especially those who live right alongside the river, say in the last 20 years, they have in their minds a high point where the river is after they've heard the warnings for flood warnings, storms are coming, the river's going to rise. They told me they know where it's going to rise. They've seen it rise, and the man yesterday even walked down to the bank of the river and said, "Here, this is the highest it's ever been in 20 years. This is the highest." So when they hear that warning, that's what they think. Never in a million years would they ever even conceive what actually happened. Paige, Shannon.
Yeah, and Brandon, I know you talked with that resident. I mean, all of this happened in the middle of the night. Were you able to ask about his evacuation, when he got really any alerts, and what that looks like for him? He seemed optimistic despite the devastation.
Well, and again, when he was notified, he was asleep. And the reason he was asleep was because when he got those warnings the night before, he said, okay, well, all right, we've gotten warnings before, the river's risen before, so we should be okay. So he went ahead and he fell asleep. Now, I was talking about a lot of that debris and a lot of the damage. I'm going to step out of the way here for you. You can see back behind me, those trees right there are in water. So they're in the river right now. And now it's hard to tell where the river would normally have run, whether it's to the back side of those trees or the front side here. But when it swells, those trees will be underwater. Those are large trees. Paige and Shannon, those aren't just small little trees, and they're, you can tell, snapped in half, and you can see that on up the river here, probably another 500 yards from where we're standing on up toward the main part of Kerrville. But even back that way, every tree that you see looks just like that, snapped in half.
And this was just an absolute devastating event. I just want to first start off by saying my thoughts and prayers are going out to the families who have lost everything, lost their loved ones. I mean, this is just a tragedy in itself. I wanted to give you guys a firsthand look of this right here. This is how quickly the water rose. This is a 1 hour time lapse in 30 seconds. But as you guys can see, I mean, it got serious so quick. It was so quick that you couldn't really respond or get folks out, especially when you're not used to seeing the river rise to such heights. This is 20, 30 feet rise in water in the matter of a couple of hours. I mean, look how quick that went up. It didn't take any time whatsoever. This is just a scary sight to see. And I'm pretty sure there's still rescue crews looking for individuals who may have been swept away. Read a story about a woman being swept 20 miles by the river's current. And the only way that she survived was because she luckily grabbed hold of a tree and climbed to the very top above the flood of water. So you can see how quickly the water just rushed in and rose. It was almost impossible to respond to that. And my heart, my thoughts, my prayers just goes out to all the families that have been affected by this. This is sad to see. But in good news, we had great leadership at the helm. We had President Donald Trump quickly snapping into shape, getting to action. As you can see right here, a camp of little girls being rescued from flood waters. Definitely fun to see that, President Donald Trump is not like old slow Biden, Joe Biden. We've seen what he did over in South Carolina. He did not help those folks whatsoever. But President Donald Trump quickly deploying, even on a holiday weekend, coming into the office, deploying the National Guard to make sure folks could be saved or rescued from these flash flood waters. And speaking of a hero, we got rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin, who saved 165 folks during the Texas flash floods. Check this one out. He just recently became a rescue swimmer.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So I'll kind of give you guys a quick synopsis of what was going on. The Coast Guard launched us and decided to send a rescue crew from Air Station Corpus Christi at about 6:30, 7 a.m. on Friday, the 4th of July. I just happened to be on the duty crew with Ian Hopper, Blair Rougefort, Seth Reeves, some of our crew members in the Coast Guard. And they sent us out. We kind of encountered some pretty serious weather, some of the worst flying we've ever dealt with personally. It took us, which should have been an hour flight, probably took us about 7 or 8 just to get into the landing zone. Once made about 4 different approaches trying to get in, we were able to get boots on the ground with the Air National Guard, Department of Public Safety for Texas, game wardens. And when we decided to leave me on scene at Camp Mystic, that was kind of our main triage site we were trying to help out with. And we decided, hey, if we leave the rescue swimmer on scene, we'll have more space in our Dolphin MH-65. So based on that, I got on scene, boots on the ground at Camp Mystic. Kind of discovered I was the only person there as far as like first responders go. So yeah, I had about 200 kids mostly, all scared, terrified, cold, having probably the worst day of their life, and I just kind of need to triage them, get them to a higher level of care, and get them off the flood zone with a lot of the US-60 Army helicopters. United States Army National Guard was landing their 60s with Task Force 1, some of their rescue swimmers, and they were able to land. We kind of came up with 2 different landing zones. There was one off an archery field and then one at a soccer field. So yeah, we were able to kind of land those 60s in there. And then I was kind of the main guy as far as like grabbing people, usually like 15 to 10 kids at a time, maybe one adult with them, and bringing them over to those 60s and getting them to a different LZ that was kind of safe and had more first responders than just myself out there.
Had you ever done this before?
No, this is my first one. I haven't had any cases before. I've been a rescue swimmer for about a year, fully trained for about 6 months. So yeah, this is my first experience, but I really just kind of relied on the training we get. Coast Guard rescue swimmers get some of the highest level training in the world. So really just kind of relied on that, and that, just knowing that any of the rescue swimmers in the Coast Guard would have done the exact same, if not better than me. So
training is one thing, but this was the real deal.
Yeah, this is definitely the real deal, but I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us, and I kind of had to live up to that standard. But yeah, the real heroes, I think, were the kids on the ground. Like, those guys are heroic, and, they were dealing with some of the worst times of their lives, and they were staying strong, and that helped inspire me to kind of get in there and help them out.
Well, you sure stayed strong as well. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Wow, guys. Talk about a true hero. I'm going to say his name again. That's Scott Ruskin. He said he'd been only trained for a year, fully trained for 6 months, saving over 165 people, most of them young children, saying that he saved about 200 folks who were mostly all scared, terrified, cold, and probably having the worst days of their life. This guy, if you haven't seen a true hero, Scott Ruskin is definitely one. I mean, fearlessly just diving into the situation. But off to another note, of course, the loonies on the left, they wasted no time diverting the attention, diverting the blame, and saying that this is all Donald Trump's fault. This is a result of the cut of DEI hires. The Doge cuts are the reason why there was no alerts or folks weren't ready for a response. I want you guys to check out what White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt had to say about this. Folks like Senator Chuck Schumer coming out, condemning and blaming Donald Trump for this tragedy that we've seen, the flash floods of Texas.
Go ahead. In the back. Kelly, go ahead.
Okay, great, thank
Sure.
you.
And then in front of you.
Okay, a couple questions for you. First,
Y'all need name tag signs.
first question on the flooding in Texas. I know there has been some concern about the timing of the alerts, knowing that they did go out, but the warnings coming out in the wee hours, so while many people were likely sleeping. Can you share just details what you know about why those warnings were sent while people were likely sleeping, and then what the administration is doing to ensure that these alerts come out sooner?
Well, the alerts imminently were sent out before the flood when people were sleeping, because the flood hit in the very early hours of the morning. So people were sleeping in the middle of the night when this flood came. That was an act of God. It's not the administration's fault that the flood hit when it did. But there were early and consistent warnings. And again, the National Weather Service did its job. On July 2nd, there were initial notices of potential weather and flooding risks were issued. On July 3rd, escalating warnings throughout the day with a flood watch issued at 1:18 p.m. And then later at 6:10 p.m. on July 3rd, the Weather Prediction Center warned of excessive rainfall and a high likelihood of flash flooding.
All right, and this report is very consistent with what we hear from folks that have boots on the ground and residents of Texas, saying that they did get the alerts, but they never thought that it would be this severe. They've seen the floods before, and they had a vision, a point in their mind where they thought, okay, this is the highest it's ever been. 20 years. I don't think it could go any higher than that. But then they were surprised. They were shocked. There was 2 days of alert. So you can't blame the weather alert services, but they did their job. It was just the folks who they underestimated the power of the flood.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend. I want to start by addressing the devastation from the tragic flash floods in Texas. Moments ago, the Department of Homeland Security provided an update that 91 innocent souls have now perished. Everyone here at the White House, including the President of the United States, is praying for the victims' families and friends during this unimaginable time. President Trump swiftly signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, Texas, to ensure our heroic first responders have every resource they need in the relief and recovery efforts. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem traveled to Texas over the weekend, and the entire Trump administration is working hand in glove with state and local officials to provide every assistance available. The situation on the ground remains dangerous, and there could be additional public safety threats with potential incoming heavy rain. So we encourage everyone in the area to remain vigilant, listen to all warnings, and respond accordingly. Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. And the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms, despite claims of the contrary. So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed.
I want to go back to the hurricane. You said that President Trump is scheduled to go to Texas later this week. Can you speculate on what day and what he has plans?
Sure. The White House is currently arranging those travel plans. We hope that it will be later this week, likely on Friday, but of course we want to do it at the most appropriate time on the ground for state and local officials. We don't want to interrupt the recovery efforts, but we're planning tentatively for a Friday trip, and when that becomes final, we'll let all of you know, as we always do.
And you gave a little bit of reaction earlier, but the National Weather Service, the union, actually publicly stated they had an adequate staff on hand to forecast and predict the storm. You shared your thoughts earlier on how the way the left has really weaponized this to blame the deaths in Texas on Trump. Want to comment on that again?
Yeah, I just do think those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. Many experts, many meteorologists have said that. Many of you in the media, in all fairness, have said that as well. Unfortunately, not all. And many Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings.
So there we have it. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt clearing the air for all the rumors and speculation coming from these loonies on the left, the mainstream media outlets. They're very dishonest with their coverage, trying to turn this into a political thing, but that's not what this is right here. This was a devastating tragedy. These flash floods came in, I mean, a blink of an eye, it almost looked like. We've seen the clips earlier. You can't put this or put the blame on President Trump whatsoever to say that these folks didn't have the proper resources, they didn't have the proper alert services. It was all in place. It just was a shocking tragedy. These folks weren't used to the flood water rising to such a point. But guys, I have one final clip that I would like you to see. This one coming from Megyn Kelly, saying that she's got a bone to pick with a dishonest ABC's George Stephanopoulos in the way that they covered this disaster. Guys, check it out.
Some in the media, absolute ghouls all over the internet, trying to blame the president and Doge for the tragedy, claiming cuts by Doge to the National Weather Service are to blame, that they left the agency unprepared. There's a long list of disgusting political ghouls who are doing this. They're insane. These are insane people. They're literally saying that these people deserved it, that these sweet little 8-year-old girls, that the 11 and 13-year-old girls with their arms around each other, that they deserved it because it's a Republican state and they must have voted for Trump and Elon, so suck it. It's absolutely disgusting. Again, there's a long list. We're going to go over it, but take a listen to ABC News's George Stephanopoulos, fresh off of settling a $16 million defamation lawsuit for lies he told over and over and over. He's an on-camera paid liar, still finding ways to lie about Donald Trump, who he says is to blame for everything.
Maria, we're also learning that there were significant staffing shortfalls at the National Weather Service's offices in the region.
You know, George, as of right now, the local county officials really didn't want to address that just yet.
Okay. He wants you to know that there were shortages at the National Weather Service. What is the relevant question? Were there shortages in the office that was responsible for this region? Did anybody involved at that office say the problem was we were understaffed, we needed more bodies? To the contrary, they had extra staff on board in that office going into this event. They understood that they were in a very precarious situation. They brought on more than double the normal expected staff that night. And not one of them is saying that this was the result of Doge cuts. I missed that in George's toss to his reporter on the scene. Great job. Great job informing your ABC News audience, who you also misled, by the way, your colleagues at their presidential debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump on the subject of Venezuelan gangs out in Aurora, Colorado. Remember when ABC News tried to tee up Donald Trump on that and Trump took it and said, this is what's happening with these gang members? Well, now even the left-wing media is admitting Trump was right about that. But ABC News doesn't get it.
Yo, there we have it, guys. Oh my goodness. Such a sad sight to see. And shame on these loonies on the left, these dishonest media outlets that covered this in such a political nature, pointing the finger, placing the blame on President Donald Trump instead of, focusing their attention on the tragedy at hand. These folks that have lost essentially everything, folks that have lost their children, folks that have lost their loved ones. I mean, such a sad, sad day. But yet the mainstream media outlets, they find a way to bring politics into every single situation. And you would have thought George Stephanopoulos would have been laying low after the $16 million defamation lawsuit, but no, he continues to peddle these lies and push that bias against President Donald Trump. That Trump derangement syndrome is off the charts for that guy. But guys, definitely hop in the comments section. Let me know your thoughts. Comments are open. I'm excited to hear what you guys are thinking on this one. Also, make sure you guys please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd enjoy more content like this, catch you guys on the next one.